All right, 3, 2, 1, let's get it. What do you say if we go back to the 70s today? Where are my 70s people at? All right, man. Today we're going to go over what I call the triple F method, and it is a new name for a old technique, and it's the feel, felt, found technique. And I really like this technique. It is a very old skill that I don't think, honestly, enough salespeople use today. And some new salespeople have probably never even heard of the feel, felt, found method, aka the triple Fs. And part of the reason is I think some people just don't even teach it anymore because sales has gotten, I don't know, it's gotten faster. It feels so much more transactional. But I really feel that people still buy the same way they've always bought. They just want confidence, they want assurances, and they need help. Yes, people need help in making a decision. By and large, people are not good decision makers. This is why they stick with the same old brand, the same old vendors, the same old everything, really because they've always been told what to think. And so they just kind of go with the flow. My dad always owned Chevys, so I own Chevys. It's not that one brand is better than the other. I think they all make a good brand. So with the feel, felt, found method, I struggled with this for years because I couldn't make it make sense for me. And it kind of felt inauthentic. And I will say this, any method or technique that you use in sales, it's got to feel right. It's got to be customized for you, because if you can't break it down to where you fully understand it and actually feel it, it's going to lack conviction and it's going to lack confidence, and it's going to come across very, very insincere. So with any technique, any new technique for that matter, it's going to feel awkward at first, but like anything, the more you start working with it, eventually it'll become part of your conversation, and it'll cease being like something mechanical and more just like a muscle memory. At first, anything that you do new, any sort of technique that you use is going to feel mechanical because it's like, you know, this is new. Same thing like working out. It all feels mechanical. But then it becomes muscle memory, and you do things reflexively without even thinking about it or anything like that. But here's why I think the triple F's, feel, felt, found, is so effective. Because when a customer throws out an objection, when they stall, or they just flat out say no, most salespeople see this as rejection. They personalize it instead of seeing it more so as a process. So when we hear the objection, or rejection, I should say, then we just mentally check out. Emotionally, we check out. We may get a little bit defensive, or you may feel desperate, and out of that desperation, you offer concessions that you didn't have to make. And this is why I like feel, felt, found, because it actually keeps you from getting sucked down the rabbit hole of following your emotions, whether you feel personally rejected, whether you feel kind of freaked out because you need this deal to make your month or to make your quota. And when you get in those kind of situations, man, I think customers sense that. They smell that. And it's just something about it. If you bought it for them, they pull back and they're just like, no, something's just not quite right or anything like that. The triple F method, feel, felt, found, is going to keep you from actually doing that. So this is where you can actually stay curious and not reactive. The reaction is where we get triggered and we come across in an insincere way. So when a customer throws out an objection, the first step, you just let them know, I understand how you feel, or I feel you. Just depending on what the context is, depending on what kind of person I'm talking to. Sometimes, man, I'll be like, man, I feel you. And sometimes I'll be like, look, I understand how you feel. It's the same thing, but I flex it a different way just depending on what the context is for the customer. So you can't just say, I feel you, and my body language and my facial expressions don't line up with it. Even if you're on the phone, your facial expressions, because you can't be like, yeah, I feel you. Okay? Or on the phone, I feel you. I understand. Okay? This triggers empathy. The empathy is what you want, not sympathy and not apathy. Sympathy means customer throws out some sort of fear, and that sympathy, you just go down the drain with them. Apathy is the eye rolls, where you're just like, this guy is wasting my time. Yeah, I feel you. Okay? See? Came across. That's apathetic. Don't care. You're out of here. You ain't buying from me. I'm moving on. I got to get back to lunch. I got to go talk to the fellas. Whatever. That's apathy. When you say genuinely, man, I feel you. Man, I understand how you feel. That triggers empathy. Empathy is what you want, because now what you're doing is you're tying into their fears, their uncertainties. That way you can guide them from there. Then when you say that, you go one layer deep. What makes you feel that way? What makes you say that? Now, you mentioned earlier, and then you bring a few words back and you tie it in. You're working their words back into the fold. See, what you're doing is, with empathy, you're looking for patterns. All throughout the conversation, you should be looking for patterns. This is why you got to stay curious in sales. And when you're talking to the customer, most salespeople aren't curious at all. The only curiosity they have is, I got a deal, they buying from me or what? That's what's going on inside their head. The master salesperson stays curious and stays with the conversation, stays with the beat. Okay, now we're going in stride. Okay, now just like a horse that's galloping, man, you can't just ride a horse stiff. You're going to fall off. I'm living proof of that. You've got to go in stride with that horse. You're striding with your customers, and you're looking for these patterns. These are repeated phrases or concerns or fears, these things that just keep bubbling up. Now, sometimes you can organically move past that. But other times, when it comes down to making a decision, those decisions, those fears may rear their ugly head again, and now you have to use the triple F method. The second step, so now that you feel, I understand how you feel. What makes you say that? Let them unpack their ideas instead of you just running off at assumptions or offering some sort of concession or, let me tell you what I could do for you today if you do it. Okay? Customers are so tired of that shit, like, no. But a master sales, man, I understand how you feel. What makes you say that? You know, you mentioned earlier that you were kind of concerned about some sort of fit. What did that mean exactly? Sometimes customers will bring these patterns up, and a master salesperson will actually sit on that to see if there's multiples of the same pattern. So that way, it may be a stall or it may be a true objection, just depending on what the conversation is. Now we're going to move into the felt. See, the feel is signaling to the customer, he gets me. So when I say, look, I understand how you feel, and my facial expression lines up and my bodily expression lines up, then the customer says, man, Marsh gets me. He understands my plight. He understands what's going on. Because with curiosity, I said, what makes you feel that way? And I sit in silence and let them unpack their ideas. Then I come behind with the felt. Many people have felt the same way. I get it. Now you're signaling you're not alone. See, 95% of people are going to do what everybody else does. And when it comes to decisions, most people are followers. They're not leaders. Very few. 5% are probably leaders. Like, case in point, when it came time for me to buy a new TV for my living room, there were guys I worked with at work. They did all the kind of research. You know what I did? I said, hey, which one did you buy? Did you like it? All right, and I went and bought that one. That was my research. I'm not doing all that shit. That's what most people do when it comes to decisions. So when you say, many people have felt the same way that you do, you're signaling, look, you're not alone. This is why reps matters in sales. This is where you share stories. This is why reps matter, because you're building a body of stories and experiences so that way you can relate better to the next person. If you don't catch enough customers and work with enough customers and maximize every opportunity, you're doing not only the customer that you're working with a disservice, but you're doing all future customers a disservice too, because you're superficial and shallow and you're looking at, do I have a deal or not? And you're genuinely not addressing their needs or concerns. Shame on you. The felt method, I understand how you feel. Many people have felt this way. Now you can tie in the story and share. This is what makes you more authentic. This is what makes you more credible. Now, here's a pro tip, a pro rookie tip for you. If you're new in sales, you don't have stories. You borrow someone else's stories. So the pro salespeople, not the bottom feeders, but the top producers, the ones that you follow, you borrow their stories. You listen to their stories with customers. You ear hustle on them. Okay, you ask them questions. Hey, what did you do in this kind of situation? Do you have something I can relate that to? See, that's the kind of conversations you need to be having with top producers, not this bullshit standing in a circle talking about the last customer wasted your time and let me trip you out, man. No. So if I'm new in sales, the stories I'm getting from top producers is I'm ear hustling from some of those stories. The other ones, I'm asking them stories. So that way I can borrow those stories and work it into the next experience with my customer when I say, look, I understand. Many customers have felt this way. Instead of me saying many of my customers have felt this way, I'm genuine. I say many customers have felt this way, and this is what we've found. Segue into step number 3. So feel, felt, now found. Found is pro level. Found is where you know your product. Found is where you've stayed curious all throughout the conversation. Found is where you give your customers options. That's what you are. You're here to, look, the information is already accessible for customers. If it all made sense, there's no need for salespeople. What customers need a salesperson for is to take everything they think they know, shatter it on the ground, break the pieces apart, and only use the usable parts based on the conversation, based on what their objective is. Boom. So the feel, felt, found is now, and we're in the found method. Now what we're doing is we're giving our customers options. This is what we've found. Now, based on what we talked about earlier, and based on your fears, we have option A, option B, and option C. And based on our conversation, I believe B or C is going to be a better fit. Which one works better for you? Boom. Done. You see what a difference this makes? You see how you can actually sit on the phone? You see how you can work with customers better and get out of this, if I could, would you? Let me throw out a concession. Let me cut my price. That a lot of times the no you hear is a K-N-O-W. It's not a N-O. They don't know if they can trust you. They don't know if this is the right service for them. They don't know if they can afford it. They don't know if you're going to be here after the sale. They don't know if they break brands from what they've always used and now you're something new. Is it going to work? They don't know that. But a lot of times when you're out of this triple F's, the feel, felt, found, then all you're doing is you're personalizing. You're like, I don't have nothing. Tell you what I'll do. Customers don't want that. They smell that bullshit. Okay? So use this today. It's going to be a little awkward for you at first. It's going to be a little mechanical for you at first. Okay? I feel you. I understand how you feel. That signals he gets me. Many people have felt that way. That signals I'm not alone. This is what I've found in working with hundreds of customers. Now you give me options, credible options. And you were empathetic the whole time. You stayed with my current concerns. You were curious. You were creative. You were attentive. Now there's no reason to shop elsewhere because you're the one. Bro, in sales, it doesn't take much to be great. Very little, because very little are taking something like this method here and applying it to their sales life. You will. All right, let's get out of here. Remember, keep it simple, keep it moving, never settle, stay tough. Peace.